On behalf of Pleach India, we welcome to all our participants. I extend my gratitude and thanks to Honorable Chairperson of Pleach India and to the Director and Sanatan, one of the distinguished scholar from Pleach India. The topic is very vibrant, very genuine topic given to us, that is ornamentation, jewelry and materials. Since appearance of human being, we are using variety of ornaments across the world, and our budding scholars, they are prepared to present their research papers. I welcome all of them, and we can proceed by one.
So, Ms. Ruhi Sharma.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Ruhi Priya. I'm an assistant professor with the Department of Fashion and Lifestyle Accessories at NIFT Delhi. Today's topic for my paper is regional disparities and material nuances in Shungan ornamentation and exegesis of Gangetic and Central Indian jewelry repertoire. While the preceding modern era was defined by monolithic restraint, imperial patronage, and mirror-like polish of Chunar sandstone, Shungan art embraced an exuberant, democratized, and deeply textured aesthetic, almost like horror vacui. The visual culture transitioned from austere pillars of Ashokan edicts to profusely ornamented surfaces of stupa vedikas, torrents, and a vast proliferation of localized terracotta plaques. Now, to observe a Shungan Yakshini or Yaksha on the reliefs of Bharut or Sanchi, or even the molded clay plaques of Kaushambi or Chandraketugad, is to be confronted by an overwhelming profusion of jewelry. This dense ornamentation serves as an enduring socio-economic record of an era characterized by flourishing mercantile guilds, shrenis, the expanding trans-regional trade networks, Uttar Path and Dakshin Path. So this is the first slide where you can see the terracotta plaques of Shungan period and of two sculptures from Bharut and Sanchi. So as I was talking, the stone reliefs of Bharat present an urban and aristocratic vision of adornment, and while in contrast, the fertile riverine clays of Middle and Lower Gangetic Valley from Kaushambi to Tamluk and Chandraketugad yielded complex, double-molded terracotta plaques capturing a vernacular, culturally unrestrained and demographically diverse aesthetic. This report kind of tries to reconstruct and give us a glimpse into a Shungan jewelry box as such, by contrasting the restrained refinement of Central Indian stone traditions and profusion of Gangetic terracotta workshops. Now, I would start with the dichotomy of medium. The primary driver of regional variation is the fundamental dichotomy of the medium itself. The availability of raw material dictated not only the scale of artwork, but also the grammar of the jewelry depicted in the mediums. Bharut and Sanchi utilize locally quarried sandstone for monumental, or rather life-sized human figures in monumental religious architecture. Stone is inherently a subtractive medium. Deep undercutting risks fracturing the stone. Consequently, the jewelry depicted on Bharut's figures remains intimately bound to the anatomical contours of the human bodies. Now, the stone restricts extreme protrusions, leading to a flatter, albeit highly textured rendering of necklaces, girdles, and ear ornaments. Patronized heavily by royal families and wealthy Shreshtins, the merchants, these sites developed a standardized iconography reflecting an idealized cosmopolitan elite. Artists utilized fine scoring and stippling to imitate delicate granulated gold of this time period. Now, conversely, the Gangetic Valley was undisputed epicenter of the terracotta arts. Clay is an additive material, highly plastic medium. The advent of double-molded terracotta technique also allowed for rapid reproduction of intricate plaques with deep relief. Massive undercutting was possible, and astonishing three-dimensional details are visible in these plaques. Because clay allows for additive layering before firing, figures from Chandraketugad and Tamluk are adorned with jewelry of staggering bulk, volume, and complexity. Heavy multi-tiered headdresses, massive ear ornaments, and multiple girdles define this vernacular aesthetic. Shungan, I'll start with the head ornaments. Now, Shungan head ornaments, especially when seen in has distinct gender and regional predilections. Unlike contemporary paradigms, Shungan men engage deeply in elaborate head adornment, typically made with textiles. At Central Indian sites, the ubiquitous markers of male aristocratic and mercantile status was an incredibly complex, voluminous turban. Constructed of richly patterned fabrics requiring internal armature. These turbans served as structural foundation for integration of other jewelry pieces. Now, blurring the line between textiles and structural metal jewelry. On the other hand, Shungan women exhibited a highly diverse repertoire of ornaments. At Bharut, female figures often cover their heads with sheer veils, from beneath which a flat disc ornament dangles upon the forehead. This corresponds to the Lalat Tilak of Amarkosh or even, Lalatik of Amarkosh or Lalat Tilak of Natyashastra. The visible specimens of Bharat feature minute dotted designs indicative of microgranulation or repoussé work. Stone jewelry molds found across the archaeological sites validate their mass production. The rare visibility of suspension string suggests the ornament was woven directly into the hairline itself. The regional divergence becomes stark in the terracotta plaques in the Gangetic Valley. The women depicted on plaques abandon the draped veil entirely for overtly structural towering hair coiffures. They wear a rigid lalat pat, which fringes the hairline, and with hair, the hair is arranged in massive bouffants, lateral and central both. These hair bouffants, are encased in delicate bejeweled nets studded with gemstones, perfectly aligning with the shikhajal described in Natyashastra. It is also termed as Muktajal in works of Kalidas and can be seen in Meghdut. Perhaps the most culturally significant regional distinction was the Panch Chura headdresses, which has in the terracotta female figurines. Absent in Central Indian stone reliefs, it is absolutely ubiquitous in Gangetic terracottas, often identified interchangeably as early prototypes of mother goddesses. These female figurines feature 5 emblematic hairpins inserted into their lateral hair bouffants. These heavy hairpins typically comprise of Ankush, Trishul, Vajra, Dhwaj, Parshu, often identified by early scholars. In agrarian context, sometimes we can see, for example, in the rightmost figure, they are often either replaced or laterally on one of the sides replaced by dhane manjri or the stalks of grains. This dual presence perfectly encapsulates the hopes and anxieties of the riverine population, serving simultaneously as martial protectors against evil and benevolent bestowers of agricultural fertility. Surviving almost exclusively in mass produced terracotta, they highlight a grassroots religious practice operating distinctly from institutionalized Central Indian Buddhism. Coming to the ear ornaments, in Shungan era, the size was staggering and the intricate geometric complexity was high, requiring the permanent distension of the ears, which is there in the entirety of the sculptures of early Indian and medieval period. So the ear ornaments are radically very different from modern period to all the ear ornaments of early Indian and medieval period. The defining ear ornament, however, from Shungan period is Prakar va Prakundal, And morphologically, the term itself translates into circumference or rampart walls, which aptly captures their heavy architectural fortress-like cuboidal forms. In stone reliefs of Bharut and Sanchi, the outward-facing square surfaces are carved with lotus rosettes and floral motifs. A coping stone from Bharat depicts the mythical Kalplata, literally blooming with profoundly granulated prakar vaprakundal in the center, as we can see here also, equating jewelry directly with divine abundance. Now, actual metallurgical specimens such as royal gold pair of this ear ornament is housed currently in Metropolitan Museum of Art, and they rely entirely on their immense weight and a perfectly calibrated center of gravity to remain seated upon the distended earlobe. Subsidiary figures and individuals of other status were different kind of ornaments, which we see more often in the figurines of terracotta figures. So as you can see, these large disc-like ear ornaments identifies that Tatanka chakra are large and cylindrical in shape. Coming down to the ornaments of neck, chest, and lower torso, the torso, adornment of neck exhibited a seamless blend of indigenous form and imported geometric motifs. Both genders commonly wore tight, flat, circular metal collars known as gravayak, depicted at Bharut and other sites. They frequently feature the Hellenistic and Achaemenid honeysuckle motif. The presence of these collars adorning the indigenous nature spirits or the yakshas and yakshinis highlights a sophisticated consumer base that effortlessly blended foreign exoticism with local religious iconography. And it has to be noticed that by this time, the forms also and the techniques also of jewelry making have been indigenized to a large extent. Lower body ornamentation sharply highlights the divergence between the restrained urban art and weighty vernacular terracotta. Women's hips are adorned with heavy girdles or mekhlas rather than camouflaging the pelvic area. These intricate designs function as deliberate visual framing devices, drawing the viewer's eye toward idealized and reproductive anatomy to emphasize the Yakshini's role as a fertility emblem. Bangles and armbands transitioned into simple solid circles, as you can see here. Similarly, foot ornaments or padangas varied from sleek, tightly coiled spirals at Bharut to phenomenally massive tubular anklets at Chandraketugarh that visually anchored the figure to the earth. Coming down to metallurgical technology and globalization, the breathtaking complexity of Shungan jewelry confirms that the Swarnkar or the goldsmith was a master of diverse techniques: granulation, filigree, chasing, repousse, and intricate chain knitting techniques were already known to them, and they were practicing it with high sophistication. By the Shungan era, Hellenistic and Achaemenid techniques and motifs have been thoroughly assimilated. The profusion of granulation technology, the incredible difficult process of fusing minuscule uniform spheres of gold without melting either component is very sophisticated and is of profound historical significance. This Hellenistic technology was spread eastwards by a diaspora of jewelers migrating after the fall of Achaemenid Empire, finding lucrative patronage in Mauryan and then later in Shungan territories. Remarkably, the art of granulation established during this era remains a vibrant tradition in Rajasthan and North India today under the name of Ravakam, as we can see in the this Gajredar Bangdi from Amrapali Museum. It demonstrates a direct lineage from the ancient Shungan period. The exhaustive examination of Shungan jewelry repertoire reveals a highly complex early historic India defined by thriving international trade, rapid technological assimilation, and distinct socio-cultural stratification. The subtractive nature of Central Indian sandstone produced a refined, anatomically integrated style of jewelry. In contrast, the additive plasticity of Gangetic Valley terracottas birthed a vernacular aesthetic defined by extreme physical bulk and profound horror vacui. Furthermore, the vernacular symbolism in terracotta plaques served as a localized canvas for populist agrarian sentiments. The specific phenomenon of Panchchura deity highlights a regional mother goddess cult that bypassed the formal institutionalized Buddhist structures of central India. Ultimately, the integration of Hellenistic motifs and Achaemenid derived granulation techniques conclusively demonstrates that Shungan India was deeply cosmopolitan as a society, while specific marvels like Prakar Prakundala, which became extinct, the maximalist vernacular aesthetic and the advanced granulation techniques continue to inform the stylistic core of Indian subcontinent today. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Shivalika Khopkar.
This paper is on aesthetics of Lakshmi Narayan sculptures from Hinglajgarh, and this is presented by Dr. Janak Gadhavi and Shivalika Khopkar. So first, this is just a general introduction on what are sculptures. So sculptures are basically 3D representations of ideas, and in India, all the sculptures, they have always held some kind of a religious importance, and they have often been or always been associated with the divine. And in that context, we have ayudhas. So ayudhas are basically the weapons or the objects which are carried by the divinities. And the ayudhas are actually the portrayal of different perceptions or different things which a deity handles. So in that context, ayudhas can also be shown as a personified version called ayudha purushas. And there are different prescriptions in agama and tantra texts for artisans, like the ones who make sculptures, they should have great observation skills, they should have imagination abilities, they should have the knowledge of the text, plus they should have the practical skills. And this paper, this focuses on the Lakshmi Narayan sculptures from a site called Hinglajgarh Fort, and the sculptures from this site, they are dated from 10th to 13th century. Now, this whole data is actually collected by museum visits and through photography and analysis. So I will be moving on to the next part of the paper. So that is the concept of Lakshmi Narayan. So basically, what is Lakshmi Narayan? Lakshmi Narayan are dual deities, like they represent cosmic balance, and they are described in Purans. And then there is a story. Then there is the story of Samudra Manthan, which is present in Vishnu Puran. According to the story, when the entire when Samudra Manthan was happening, when it occurred, Lakshmi was one of the objects which came out of the Samudra Manthan. And now if we look into the sculpture part, sculptures of Lakshmi Narayan, they are found from post-Gupta period. So we can say that these sculptures are not found prior to the they are not found till the Gupta period. Apart from that, Lakshmi Narayan sculptures, they are defined in one of the texts, that is Vishwakarma Shastra, which was authored by Hemadri. It is a 13th century text, though we find the sculptures of Lakshmi Narayans from 10th century CE. Okay, so now moving on to the Lakshmi Narayan sculptures from Hinglajgarh. So for this, I will just first I will provide just some basic information of the site. So Hinglajgarh, as I mentioned, it is a fort. It is located in Mandsaur district of Madhya Pradesh. Now it is important because from this site, more than 500 sculptures were found. Now this site is actually named after Hinglaj Mata. The original Shakti Peeth of Hinglaj Mata is actually located in Baluchistan, but we also have a Hinglajgarh in Malwa region. Now, in the vicinity of Hinglajgarh, there are evidences of habitation since the prehistoric times. We will not go into that. We will just focus on the historic periods. Say, like if we look into the sculptures of Hinglajgarh, the earliest sculptures of Hinglajgarh are dated from 4th to 5th century CE, that is from Gupta period. There are also some sculptures from Pratihara period, then moving on to Parmar period, and then lastly the Maratha period. But the most important problem of Hinglajgarh is the lack of inscriptions, due to which there are lots of gaps in our knowledge. So basically, we don't have any such inscription which says ki this site was built by some king or some dynasty. That information is still unknown to us. But on the basis of sculptures, we can date these sculptures to 11th to 12th century on the basis of their style. So this is just a map of Hinglajgarh Fort. The red dot, that is the Hinglajgarh Fort. Now this is an aerial view of Hinglajgarh Fort. And now moving on to the regional history of Malwa. As such, Malwa had a huge settlement period, like beginning from prehistoric times, then moving into Puranic times, and then falling into the hands of Nandas, Mauryans, Shungas, Satvahans, Kshatraps, and then finally into the hands of Guptas. Then when it comes to the medieval period, the region of Malwa moved hands between Kalachuris, Rashtrakutas, Pratiharas, and then finally with the Parmars. Now, if we talk about the regional art style of Hinglajgarh sculptures, it is actually defined by a scholar named R.S. Garg and also by K.C. Pandey. These are two eminent scholars who have worked on defining the regional sculpture style of Hinglajgarh. So if we look into that, we see ki the first feature of Hinglajgarh is that the sculptures are heavily decked with jewelry. And the second part is that the emotions which the sculptures are trying to show, they are more of devotion. And despite being heavily decked with jewelry, the carving shows it shows plasticity in the movements. So now I will just move into the sculptures. So this is a 10th century sculpture from Lakshmi Narayan sculpture from Hinglajgarh. In this we can actually see ki Narayan is on the right, Lakshmi is seated on his lap on the left, and there is the ayuds, that is Shankha and Chakra, they are personified into Ayudh Purushas. So Shankha Purush is on the side of Narayan, and Chakra Purush is on the side of Lakshmi. And Lakshmi and Narayan both are carried on the back of Garud. Above that, there is a broken Prabhavali in which we can see a seated Shiva. So this is a sculpture from the collection of Birla Museum, Bhopal. Next, moving on to 11th century sculpture. In this sculpture too, we see Narayan and Lakshmi seated on his lap, both being carried by a Garud. But when we actually come to 11th century, we see that Chauri bearers, they become an essential part of the whole sculpture. So this was not present in the 10th century one, but this becomes the norm in 11th century. Apart from that, we can also see that the position of Chakra Purush and Shankha Purush, it actually changes. So in this particular sculpture, the Chakra Purush, which should actually be on the side of Lakshmi, it is near the foot of Narayan. And Shankha Purush, which actually should be near Narayan, it is near the foot of Lakshmi. So probably this was like experimentation or artistic freedom which the artisans took. Apart from that, we can also see, if in terms of jewelry, we can see that Lakshmi, Narayan, and Garud, and even the Ayudh Purushas, they have sort of matching ornaments. So this is the ornamentation part of 11th century Lakshmi Narayan sculpture. This one is from the collection of Central Museum, Indore. Next, this is also a sculpture from 11th century of Lakshmi Narayan, again from the collection of Central Museum, Indore. In this we can actually see there is a Narayan. In his lap there is Lakshmi. There are Chauri bearers, and this sculpture is, since it is partially broken, the Chakra Purush, which should be on the side of Lakshmi, it is actually broken. and Shankhapurush, that he is represented. But in this sculpture, Shankhapurush and Chakrapurush both are represented in a seated position. And since this sculpture has a complete Prabhavali, we can actually see the whole seated Brahma and seated Shiva on top. Apart from that, in the center part of the Prabhavali, we also have Yogeshwar. Then there are flying Vidyadhars too. Now, in terms of jewelry, we can see that they are wearing multiple necklaces and griddles. Apart from that, the crown or the Kirit Mukhut of Narayan, it is beautifully adorned. Not only that, even Garud is wearing he is wearing plenty much of jewelry. So in this sculpture too, we can see that Lakshmi, Narayan, and Garud, they are wearing matching ornament sets. Now, moving on to the next sculpture. This is from 11th, 12th century, again from the collection of Central Museum, Indore. Now, this sculpture is actually a standing or sthanak position of Lakshmi Narayan sculpture. Actually, if we see into the details, standing or sthanak sculptures of Lakshmi Narayan are actually much more rare. Seated ones are statistically more present in the region of Malwa. And in this 11th 12th century sculpture, we see that there is the absence of Garud. Then even the Ayudh Purushas are not shown. But if we look into the terms of jewelry, we can again see the matching jewelry sets which are worn both by Lakshmi and Narayan. And this is one sculpture in which Lakshmi is actually carrying an upper garment or an uttarpatta in her hand instead of a lotus. Next, moving on to the 13th century sculpture. This is a basalt sculpture. Yes, sure. This is a basalt sculpture from again from the collection of Indore, the Central Museum, Indore. Unfortunately, this is a bit incomplete, as we can also see chisel marks in it. But when we actually come to the 13th century, one can actually see that the legs or the limbs of Narayan, they are a bit longer, or they are a bit improportionate. So maybe this is actually related to the economic decline of the dynasty itself. That's probable. And in terms of jewelry, we can see some minute details on it, not too much details, because perhaps this sculpture is incomplete. So these were the sculptures of Lakshmi Narayan which were found from the site of Hinglajgarh. Now this is just the concluding part. We can say that sthanak sculptures are less in amount. Seated ones are more prominent. They all belong to the Parmara patronage on the basis of style. Then when we look into the 10th century sculpture, we can see some details like Vyals and Makaras in the Prabhavali, which become absent in the 11th, 12th century and ahead. When we actually come to 11th, 12th century, we see the heavily ornamented or the peak styles and aesthetics which define the entire Hinglajgarh sculptures. Apart from that, some minute carvings of clothing patterns are also visible on the Lakshmi and Narayan sculptures. Apart from that, when we actually come to 11th, 12th century, we can say that interchanging the positions of Ayudh Purushas, it can show some kind of artistic freedom which the artists had while making the sculpture. And when we actually come to 13th century, we see that we see a decline in the craftsmanship. That is how we notice things in the 13th century sculpture. But as a whole, the whole site goes into an economic decline after 13th century. So maybe it shows the patrons of the site, they were not finding enough funds or to provide their artists, or maybe artists were migrating because of the constant warfare. So that's it for the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. So next speaker, Nisha Vashishtha.
Respected chairpersons, honored guest, good afternoon to you all. I'm Nisha Vashishtha, a research scholar from Department of History and Indian Culture at Vanasthali Vidyapeeth. Today, I have honor to present my research paper titled Art and Iconography of Ancient Kama Region, Rajasthan, This paper is written under the guidance of my respected supervisor, Dr. Shilpi Gupta ma'am. Let me introduce first that where is Kama and what is the location. Kama is located. Let me begin with a simple question. When we talk about ancient Indian art, what comes in our mind? Mathura, Sanchi, Khajuraho, etc. These are the centers that most textbooks and scholars focus on. But what about the smaller and lesser known places that were equally rich in art and culture? My research is about one such forgotten but extraordinary important place, Kama. Kama is a small town now located in the Deeg district of Rajasthan. Despite having a rich artistic tradition spanning near 7 centuries from 5th to 12th century, Kama has received very little attention in mainstream Indian art history. And that is exactly the gap of my paper tries to fill. Why Kama is a location is so special. Kama sites at the meeting point of the three modern states, Rajasthan, Haryana, Uttar Pradesh. In the ancient time, the same region was a meeting point between two great kingdoms, the Sursena Mahajanpad, centered at Mathura, and the Matsya Mahajanpada, centered at Virat Nagara. Because of this in between position, Kama become a place where different artistic ideas, religious traditions, and cultural practices came together and mixed. It absorbed the art of Mathura from the east and slowly developed its own unique Rajasthani style. In simple words, Kama was like a bridge between two worlds of art. Kama is not just geographically important, it is also deeply sacred. In ancient literature, Kama is defined as Kamek Vana in Mahabharata, one of the 12 sacred forests of Braj Mandal. The Mahabharata mentioned it as a place where the Pandavas came for spiritual merit. Even the great archaeologist Sir Alexander Cunningham, when he visited in the Kama 19th century, noted its historical significance. Next, we will proceed on uh, dynastic succession and artistic changes. Now, to understand Kama's art, we must understand its political history. The rulers of Kama were not passive patrons, they actively shaped the art that was created here. Each dynasty brought its own religious priorities, its own aesthetics preference. The most important dynasty for Kama's art was Purja Pratihara dynasty. The Pratiharas were powerful temple builders. Their art style was bold, muscular, and energetic, very different from the refined classical style of the earlier Gupta period. They promoted Shiva and Vaishnava imagery and great cosmic power. One of the most important monument which is in Kama is Chaurasi Khamba Temple, which literally means the temple of 84 pillars. It was originally built by Queen Vatshalika. There is a inscription in this found an inscription in this temple which shows that it is built by Queen Vatshalika, a queen of Sursena dynasty. Later, when the Delhi Sultanate arrived, Sultan Iltutmish converted this Hindu temple into a mosque. An Arabic inscription above the entrance records this. But here is what is remarkable. Even after this, Kama's artistic workshops kept functioning. The creative tradition of this place was never fully destroyed. Bridge culture as an artistic foundation. Before I show you the sculptures, I want to briefly explain one more point, important idea: the role of Braj culture in shaping Kama's art. The art of Kama reflects the values of Vaishnavism, the celebration of nature, divine play, and cosmic protection. You can feel the pastoral, earthly beauty of the brush in these sculptures. Kumar Swami, Anand Kumar Swami, respected Anand Kumar Swami ji, once said that Indian sacred art is a form of yoga, a way of seeing the invisible through the visible. At Kama, even the natural landscape, the forest, the ponds, the sacred groves was understood as a holy text, and the art created here reflect exactly that spirit. Now, iconographical analysis of major sculptures from Kama. First is Chaturmukha Shivling. The first sculpture I want to discuss is this. Two of these, there are two Chaturmukha Shivling found from Kama. The first one is carved in light red sandstone, dated back to the Gupta era, roughly to the 4th to 6th century. It has four faces emerging from the four sides of the ling. Each face represents one aspect of Shiva according to the Panch Brahma concept. The east face, Tapta Purusha, represent grace. South face, Aghora, and represent destruction and transformation. The north face, Vamdeva, represent preservation, and the west face, Sadjyoti, represent creation. The fifth and highest aspect, Ishan, is not carved. It is believed to raise invisible upward from the top of the ling. This invisible fifth face is a beautiful artistic choice. It represents what is beyond human sight. Next, the second Chaturmukha Shivling is even more ambitious. It is larger, almost 5 feet tall, and it has a much more complex iconography. The four faces here represent not just uh, aspect of Shiva, but four major gods. Brahma in the north. Brahma, as we can see, Brahma in the north, recognized by the three faces, matted hair crown, and sacred thread. Vishnu in the west. Vishnu in the west, the third picture, uh, by his royal crown and long garland, and also Garuda. Shiva in the south. Shiva in the south. This first image. Shiva in the south, um, by his crescent moon, and Surya, the sun god, in the east, wearing armor and boots, with the chariot, Aruna, and 7 horses. Next picture is of Shiva Parvati Parne. The next major iconographical theme at the Kama marriage of Shiva and Parvati, which is called Kalyan Sundar Murti. Look at the details. A four-faced Brahma, the creator of God, is shown performing the marriage ritual, offering an oblation like ahuti uh, into the sacred fire. With this tells us that the wedding is not just a royal event; it is a cosmic event. Parvati holds a mirror in her left hand, and Vishnu stands there as a Parvati's father figure and protector, uh, holding a Mangal Kalash beside Parvati. And next picture is Shiv Parvati Parnay, which is located in National Museum in Delhi. Shiva is shown here with all the canonical attributes: his jata mukut and matted hair crown, his clearly curved third eye, and the trident in his trishul in his upper right hand, and a serpent in his upper left. And then Parvati is richly decorated with ornaments and necklace, armlets, bracelets, and earrings. And above the couple, Shiva and Parvati, the Himalaya peaks are curved from where the celestial guests have descended to witness this cosmic wedding. Next, Uma Maheshwara panel, which is located in now located in the Museum of Bharatpur. The third Here, Parvati sits on Shiva's left leg, a pose called Raj Leelasan, the royal resting posture. This represents the gentle and loving side of Shiva, as described in the Dharmottar Puran and the Matsya Puran. What makes this panel extraordinary is everything around the couple. Gandharvas, divine musicians, play instruments, and four Shivlingas represent the four ages of time are shown. Kartikeya rides his peacock. Ganesha is also present there, and Brahma, Vishnu, and Nandi are curved below the throne. Next picture of Narvarha, which is boar avatar of Vishnu, which is located in the museum of Bharatpur. And next is a picture of Sheshai Shiva, which is located in the temple, Kamakeshwar Mahadev temple in Kama, which shows Vishnu resting on the cosmic serpent, which is called Shesha. And next is Ashtagraha panel, which is located in Worcester Art Museum, USA. There is Ashtagrahas and Ketus not present there. And next is Kubera sculpture, which is located in Victoria and Albert Museum, London. And interestingly, the Victoria and Albert Museum classified this panel under both Hindu and Buddhist categories, because Kubera is in Hinduism is also Jambhala in Buddhism, the deity of wealth. This dual identity reflects the synchronized, open-minded nature of Kama's cultural world. Next is Kama's transitional artistic zone. Kama's bridge between the tradition, and I'm about to the conclusion basically. Some of the details of Kama's sculptures, which are scattered across the world. Some are in Ajmer Museum and Bharatpur Museum, and also in Delhi Museum, and two sculptures are out of India, which are in Worcester Museum and Victoria Albert Museum. And there is a need to preserve Kama's sculptures, which are scattered here and there in the Kama. For conclusion, Kama is a major artistic center, and there is need to protect them, and also a detailed grammatic 3D scanning of document of survival sculptures, a thorough archaeological survey of unexcavated sites in this region is needed. Deeper study of inscriptions and epigraphic records that are still unexplored is also a need. And Kama's art deserves to be known not just by those who pass through it, but also in it's also need in Indian art history that we should study about the Kama. And these are my sources. Thank you so much.
Next, Akshatha Arumugam, kindly share your presentation.
So good evening, everyone. Today I'm going to present on the topic carving aesthetics, studying the iconography and stylistic variation of Jain bas-reliefs in the Madurai region. Myself, I'm from Tamil Nadu State Department of Archaeology. I'm working as a research associate. So coming to the topic, I would like to introduce what Jainism is, and like we all know what Jainism is, but I want to explain its spread in Tamil Nadu. The Jainism, it's present in Tamil Nadu, can be dated back to 4th century BCE, which is known as Sangam age in Tamil Nadu, which is historically, it is an early historic period. So, where we can find these references and presence apart from the literature sources and all is mostly in rock bed sites, where we can find some inscriptions engraved in different a form of scripts like Tamili, which is none other than Tamil Brahmi, and Vattirathu. So these are aesthetic habitational spaces which is located in the ancient route of highways. So these sculptures are carved directly onto the natural rock. Later period we can find three-dimensional sculpture actually. But earlier in a sense, I mean to 7th century CE, where we can see the bas reliefs. So here the study area chosen is not the entire of Tamil Nadu, but I have specified it to Madurai, in which I have further narrowed it to Kidaripatti, Karangalakudi, Aritapatti, Keelakuyilkudi, Kongarpuliyakulam, and Thiruparangundram. These are granite hill formations with natural cave-like features which have served as monastic landscape context. We can see the oil press kind of feature, which is like in other places they might have used it for oil press because we can know it from the inscription, but mostly that oil press kind of structure which is associated to these rock beds speak about how they have used it to prepare the medicines. So yes, from which we can know the way they have lived there. So yes, these are the sites, Jain sites that are located around Madurai. We can see around 16 sites from which I have focused only few, so that most all these 16 sites fall into 3 categories only. So I have took only 7 to represent all of those 16. Basically, this is a preliminary research, so I have took only 8 sites. The research problem here is we have very limited stylistic studies on these Jain sculptures. Mostly they focus on the inscriptions. Like I have told, we can see label inscription. Label inscription is nothing but below the bas relief we can see the inscriptions, mostly of Vattaruthu, which will be conveying us about who carved it, or whose sculpture is being carved, or who donated it. So those kind of carvings would be there, which will be mostly speaking about that particular sculpture alone. If we have a series of 5 sculptures, each 5 of the sculptures will be having the label inscription beneath it. Each label will be speaking about the sculpture. So the need for the study is basically to understand the typology and to study the regional stylistic framework, and also to analyze the evolution. The aim and objective is to analyze iconography, stylistic variation, spatial placement, and regional microschool hypothesis. The methodology used is basically from published images and secondary sources, visual analysis approach. No field measurement is done, but we have went to field and took the photography, but we were not able to take the measurement. This is a preliminary study, so we are going to do the actual on-site measurements in the future. So the typological framework is there are 3 type of reliefs that we can see in these sites, which is basically first and foremost is incised or linear relief, which is very similar to our petroglyph, like the engravings that we do on the rock surface. The next is low bas relief, not high projection, but very low. We can figure out some small projection is there, and after that a developed bas relief is there. And the other type is an entire sculpture was kept, but I didn't add it here because mostly these sculptures are kept separate, so I didn't add it along with this. So based on depth, projection, and detail, along with the iconographical features, we are going to study this. So the type 1 is minimalistic ascetic mode. So we can see, if you could see here, this is the image from, just give me a second. Yeah, this is the image from Kidaripatti. We can see very shallow incisions. This is Mahavir, and if you could see here, this is the label inscription which was followed. Yeah, the minimal detailing is given, and the meditative pose is carried out, because but we cannot see any vahanas or lachanas here. Coming to the type 2, which is a frame devotional mode, here you could see that the niche is a bit carved deeper, and the label inscription actually came beneath, and you could also see the lotus pedestal. So moderate depth is given and presence of niche of frame, like I have told here, and structure composition. So correct measurement of shoulder, bodily features, and everything. So this sculpture is this bas relief is basically from Karingalakudi. This shows some uh, transitional. We call it devotional because these are laid on top angle, which is not over eye level, but we should look at above us. So that's why we propose that these are considered to be devotional and not for like the meditating purpose. For meditating purpose, we think the one that is on eye level should have been considered. Still, it's an hypothesis. So type 3 is very elaborate narrative mode. So if you could see, this is very deep carving with all yakshi and yakshas around, and toranas above, then mukudai, and you can see very decorative pedestals of vahanas, and we can also see bahubali. So these are some of the decorative elements. We can this one is from Kilakuilkudi, and this is from Tiruparankundram. So mostly, if we could see from the inscription, these inscriptions speak about the patronage. So when the patronage become high, the stylistic features also became more deeper, I guess, because like earlier we don't get much detail about the patronage or the king names, but here we could get the details about it, not necessarily the king but the donor. The iconographic features, we can see Padmasana, which is from the sculpture of Mahavira, and Kayodga Sarga from sorry, this is not Bahubali. This is Parshvanatha. And minimal anatomy can be seen, and abstract facial features. Like if you, this one was eroded actually. If you could see the facial features of Yaksha, Yakshi, everyone around, you can see that. Good facial features and spiritual over physical, like more elegant and peaceful facial features are there. Then coming to the iconographic variation, this one is the earlier type with very small embossment, and this having a depth and a bit of decorative features, and coming to the next stage, more elaborate and more decorative and ornamented. So coming to the spatial analysis, like I have told earlier, these are engraved on very high on the rock outcrop. So we think these are for devotional purpose. Yeah. And coming to these, here also we have such a high hill crop, but they prefer to carve on the eye level. So we have to work further to understand why such angle variation is done from place to place. So the key argument is we can see microscope variation from each site. Like some site, even though they are being elaborate, some they prefer to have yaksha and yakshi while others didn't, and some prefer to have vahanas while others prefer simple pedestal. So these different iconographical features and different ornamental features shows that there should have been some microscope and characterized by minimalism, relief variation, landscape integration, and selective iconography. So I would like to conclude saying distinct regional sculptural tradition, not temple based but landscape based. Typology provides us new framework. So we need to study this basically in a more detailed scale, and also comparing other places of Madurai, and to document, conserve, and do the field research. So most of these sites are, I just want to bring this into your concern that most of these sites are falling for mining activities. Speaking about it and creating the awareness and making the public visit these sites will prevent such mining activities. With that, I would like to conclude, and these are the references and image courtesies. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity.
Thank you, Ms. Akshatha.
Thank you, sir.
So next is Ms. Shreya Tripathi. Ma'am, kindly share your presentation.
Good afternoon to all respected members. My paper title is One Shakti and Seven Divine Powers, an Interpretation of the Saptamatrika in Tantric and Yogini Aspects. First of all, must we know that who is Saptamatrika. So Saptamatrika is one of the form of Shakti, which is known as divine group of power from seven goddesses, which is collectively known as Brahmini, Maheshwari, Kaumari, Vaishnavi, Varahi, Indrani, and Chamunda. The term Saptamatrika derives from the Sanskrit words Shapt and Matrika. These divine Matrika energies embody the dynamic cosmic power with corresponding relation with their male deity like Brahma, Shiv, Kartikeya, Vishnu, Varaha, Indra, and Yama. In literature overview, the origin of Saptamatrika, according to Varaha Puran, Matsya Puran, and Devi Mahamatya and others, the Matrika was born for the defeat and the destroy the demons. In a historical context, the earliest evidence of Saptamatrika is from Kushana period. Its style is completely based on animal forms or human faces and association with scum and Balkar. The Matrika purpose is child protection. In Gupta period, she hold a unique place with oval faces and ideal modeling, which associates with Kartikeya and Ganesha. Its purpose is dynastic and military power. Further, post-Gupta, Gurjar Parihar, Chol, and Chandel period, we can see many variation in iconography of Saptamatrika. She founds with their cosmic protection and ritual worship. In this period, Saptamatrika's style shifted mature, slender, and tall mukut from gentle to fairness. Further, iconography part of this paper. According to table, Saptamatrika's common attributes are like Ankush, Shul, Pash, Pustak, and Vajra. She always look in Abhay Mudra and holds Hal, Shakti, and other attributes. She shows relation with their male deities and their Vahnas. Further note, the key point of this study is the connection of Matrikas with Tantric tradition and Samshan rituals. The Matrikas are shown their strong relevance of interpretation with cosmic powers in Tantric rituals individually from itself. Moving to Yogini tradition and chakra system, the Matrika, the Saptamatrika shift from Matrika to Yogini with their Fremention ground presence along with its care and protective nature from the onwards of 7th century. According to Abhinav Gupta Tantra Loka, mothers are the main energy of dynamic and cosmic power of tantric aspect. And according to Trika and Call tradition, recognize the mother's transformation from outward cosmic powers into inside psychological forces as a crucial integration of the divine feminine. My paper's research gap is there is, despite the prominence in temple sculptures and tantric literature, interdisciplinary study linking textual, philosophical, and art historical perspective on the Saptamatrika remains limited. The scope of this study, this paper examines the Saptamatrikas within Tantric Shakta tradition, Yogini cults, Samshan rituals, chakra system, and major traditions of Indian sculptures. Methodology I followed in this paper is completely based on comparative and descriptive analysis of Saptamatrika's legacy, historical background, and iconography study with the new aspect of their relevance with Tantric tradition and Yogini aspects. This study draws on factual analysis of key Puranic and Tantric sources, including the Markandeya Puran, Matrika Bhed Tantra, and Abhinav Gupta Tantra Lokas, and other scholars' iconography study. And discussion is the Matrika are established as a central figure in Shakta Shiv thought through the key texts like Kalika Puran, Matrika Bhed Tantra, and also Tantra Lok. And second one is sculpture evidence is traces from early historic periods to Yogini temples at Hirapur, Khajuraho, and Bhedghat. Each mother's iconography mirrors her male deity like Brahmi with the swan, Vaishnavi with Garud, Maheshwari with the bull. Chamunda's cremation ground imaginary linked the entire group to death and power as a theology in stone. These qualities like the death, destruction, transgression are not flaws but sources of transformative and cosmic power. In conclusion, the Saptamatrika are not just central to Shakta Tantrism; they are its structural foundation. Their roles in yogini cult, temple architecture, chakra system, and the structure of language and consciousness is not from with the group. It shows also exact relevance with individually. Sakti Tantrism involved through continuous, always preserving mothers and core rather than replacing them. These references I use in my paper. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. So last paper of our first day of our national seminar is by Dr. Abhishek Chauhan.
Our paper is basically based on the fact related with the Stone Age, and it's in Hesang village, which is in Jharkhand, and the block name is block in which it is situated is Dari block. It's a block where we are having a Stone Age image, means a prehistoric site, which is existing in Jharkhand. Nowadays, what is going on in this block, we are unable to go through the means required opportunity which we should get for the restriction of the prehistoric site, which we are failing a little bit. And it's the approach which we have applied is based on the anthropological analysis which we have dealt with, and we have tried to make it more scientific. And actually we have tried to cover the cave art traditions of Jharkhand, particularly in the Dari block of Hazaribagh, represents a unique intersection of prehistoric heritage and living indigenous culture. Rock paintings in nearby sites such as Isko depict animals hunting scenes and symbolic motifs reflecting early human interaction with nature and survival strategies. And anthropologically, these artworks functions as visual narratives that document tribal life, belief system, and ecological adaptation, offering insights into the early human condition and social organization in evolving environments. So we have tried to cover it, and the cultural significance which we have tried to cover is the expression of identity and heritage. So this is the fact where we have been working, and we have tried to find out the transmission of knowledge across generations. Here what we have done, we have tried to find out what the relationship existed in the past and how the relationship is existing with that place, with the people living within the Hesalong village. So that's the major site where we have worked. And the most challenging which is existing in this is the means restriction for the people not to use this site just for fun, but keeping it more restricted for the visitors. Nowadays what has happened, many people from local colleges and universities are getting attracted towards it, and they are continuing their studies in this area, which is a big thing, which has given it a more popularity relating to this site. And the most materials and techniques which they have used is of natural pigments, tools used, finger brushes made of twigs, which has been analyzed by various researchers who have conducted their studies belonging to different departments of anthropology and other departments of Jharkhand universities. Surplus preparation and preservation methods have also been implemented in this. And then we have also focused on the cave art, which we have found on that stone area, which is very much having its resemblance with the other I mean, so you can say with the Sorai and Kovar art, which is practiced in Jharkhand. So that is the main thing which is going on. And it has been observed that these means belongings have identified and anthropological interpretation, we have tried to find a symbolism in cave art and its relationship between humans and nature, and reflection of socio-economic life. It means whatever they are finding out, still the villagers are having their sentimental and ritualistic belief with its area, and they always say ki we are having a belief that this place is something which is related with the ritualistic and religious practices which was practiced by the earlier human existence in this Heselong village. And challenge and threats which we are facing is environmental degradation, lack of documentation, and cultural erosion due to modernization. So these three factors have means a little bit of threat has been shown by them, and the conclusion which we have arrived is cave art as a living cultural heritage, importance of preserving indigenous knowledge system, and need for policies and policy and academic attention, which could provide it a new dimension for thinking and preserving the culture in a scientific and systematic manner. So it could be given more means order to the symbolic relationship which is existing within it. Environmental degradation, lack of documentation, and cultural erosion due to modernization. That is one of the thing which we have find it out, and still we are working on this. And recently we had a discussion with the local bodies and the PRA members who have been living within this village, and we have tried to analyze them. They just communicate the importance of this site to them, and they have been agreed, and they have been trying to preserve it. And we are trying with other universities also to get this site nominated as much as possible. You will find writing related to this place on the Google also, but less number of references are there. So we need to work more on this area.
Dr. Abhishek, can we see your PPTs on that cave art, please?
Yes, sir.
Because that belt, that Chota Nagpur ka Pathar.
Yes, sir.
Many
Yes,
of
sir.
caves we can find out and explore. If we explore, during my PhD, I explored two of the cave art there, right?
Okay.
At the
Yes, yes.
at joining of the Jharkhand, that's in
Mm-hmm.
Chhattisgarh now.
Yes, sir.
So
Sir,
kindly.
if you'll go back now, then you will find a slide.
Okay, we'll see. No
Uh,
problem.
uh,
Okay, go
uh,
ahead, please. Go ahead.
So changes and threats, and these are the things which we covered up. And before this anthropological interpretation, yes, this one I was saying. Yes. So such symbols which are very much related with the cover and Sorai art also, and that presents, but that these art are very rare, and it is present in a smaller means you can say area which needs to be magnified and identified, because this area nowadays, what is happening now, the villages are thinking that it's a really means ritualistic and religious place which we need to means मैंने पुरखों का कुछ रिलेशनशिप इससे रहा है इस जगह को, they are using it in that way rather than using it in that case this is a prehistoric site which should be preserved. So that's the thought process, but that the good sign is that still the stones are at the places where they were, means they it has not been moved out, but there are some means you can say ki many elements in the society which are trying to just disturb it. Dr. Gop,
yes.
yes, Dr. Gop, मैं आपसे request करूंगा, because Dr. Gop is also having a YouTube channel called Khota Dahar, on which he has tried to means discuss about this. So Dr. Gop, थोड़ा सा बताइएगा तो अच्छा रहेगा.
एक्चुअली हाँ, नमस्कार सर. मैं चूंकि इसी जो हिस्टोरिकल पैलेस है उसी गांव का मैं निवासी हूं, और ये मैं बचपन से देख रहा हूं कि यहाँ का जो गुफा चित्र है और झारखंड के जो अन्य गुफा चित्र है जैसे इसको गुफा, तो जो यहाँ का जो गुफा चित्र है जैसे लिखनी गुफा चित्र, वो एक कॉरिडोर है. यहाँ मतलब ये चूंकि यहाँ का जो गुफा चित्र का जो ये मिला हुआ है वो ग्रीक के गुफा में भी ऐसे ही चित्र मिले हुए हैं. तो यहाँ ज्योमेट्रिकल इस तरह का डायग्राम बना हुआ है, और यहाँ पे ही मेगालिथ पत्थर है जिससे वो आपका
हाँ, वो हमने देखा बिल्कुल जी.
हाँ, तो बड़का गांव का जो मेगालिथ गुफा जो है वो वहाँ का कैबाट और वहाँ का वो मेगालिथ साइट, जस्ट हेसालोंग विलेज का जो मेगालिथ साइट है और वो गुफा चित्र, इससे साफ जाहिर होता है कि जो भी आदिम पुरखे जो हैं वो आने जाने का ये कॉरिडोर रहा होगा। तो ये गुफा चित्र जो है वो सच मायने में एक ऐतिहासिक स्थल है और इसे बचाया जाना चाहिए, क्योंकि इसके बगल में ही बहुत ज्यादा माइनिंग हो रहा है और ब्लास्टिंग हो रहा है, जिसके कारण से ये गुफा चित्र भी अब खतरे में है। तो इसको हम लोग संरक्षित करने के लिए जिला स्तर से प्रयास है, और इको टूरिज्म में कैसे डेवलप हो इसके लिए भी हम लोग यहाँ से प्रयासरत हैं। और इसके लिए हम लोग एक काम कर रहे हैं कि लोगों को जागरूक कर रहे हैं, और इस स्थल को संरक्षित कैसे किया जाए, इससे ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा लोगों तक इस पे आलेख और ये मतलब स्थानीय कार्यक्रम के जरिए लोगों को जागरूक करने का प्रयास कर रहे हैं। धन्यवाद सर।
Yes, sir. This was from our side,
Yes.
and now it is open for the discussion
Thank you.
or question. Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So our Sandeep sir,
Yeah.
kindly share your thoughts, sir, on the today's session and your ideas and inputs on this.
Let me talk about our scholar first. All presentations, I'm very happy to learn entirely aspect of jewelry, then from Shakti, Vaishnavism, Shaivism, slowly that Jainism, Buddhism, all everything. Through this topic we had discussion today, and all young scholars are with us, so we welcome them for the further studies. And certain scholars, they are starting, it is a beginning I saw, because we have to develop methodologies, methods. Then one side, if you see, this topic was related to on materials. So how we are developing materials, that we have to work on. Suppose we are working on one sculpture rather on jewelry or ornaments, right? We have to focus how these materials has been developed slowly and evolution of material. That was my observation. Thank you so much.